Because my peers were such betrayers, I ended up leading a very lonely life. I lead a very lonely life now. However, there's no way for me to know if anybody who's actually looking for some kind of understanding of what's been going on watches my videos. I don't want to let someone down who may be concerned to be informed about what's going on. The foreign rabid have become very good at creating internal pressure. How much silence can I stand in which they have broadcast through their criminal means Pittsburgh's laws? And they think it's a lot of fun. Macintosh was the name of a sixth grade math teacher who read us The Outsiders. Jennifer Rubin, whose likeness appears on Roman Pink Japanese films from Neva, and who was involved in this lifelong project, whose name is similar to Jerry Rubin, and who lived near Karsh and across the street from Kings Estate, where I was brutally tortured and gassed by the Pitman quarrymen. Pitman, which is like Hitman and Pitbull. These kinds of index in the signifiers are always lied about and ignored by Harrisburg, always lied about by Tom Rich, always snickered about by Penis Gaber. But they're clear indicators. I was ravagely attacked by men named Pitman, and the similarity to Pitbull, Pitman, Hitman, and Quarryman made clear their rancid canine federal clearance to commit a military atrocity. I was a victim of a military atrocity. Macintosh was given a Macintosh applesauce jar by Johnny Ribbon, which he proudly displayed on his desk as he read us The Outsiders. The Outsiders was also referred to over and over again by Gail Burstyn in the Texas School Book. She was introduced to me by Judge Shelley Freeman's daughter, Sharon Samuels, and whose cousin, Beth Blumenfeld, was close friends with Jennifer Rubin. Tav lived across the street. Now, the foreign rabbit knew that Willie Wattenmaker was the neurosurgeon who had poisoned me. Ian Wattenmaker and Tony Servey was in the class with Macintosh. He had flunked. He was a John Wayne type. And he told me he was going to take me to the Cars show. So we know that the ringleaders were organized federal. Macintosh was one of them. Burston was one of them. The Postal Service was among them. And Servey was one of the ringleaders who not only poisoned me with a nerve agent, but took me to the stolen car show for a black man named Mr. Biggs. So since Mr. Biggs was so similar to Tibbs and Hollywood was involved, I suspect Sidney Poitier was one of the blacks working with Clarence Thomas Division in the special selection system of AIDS and the COVID bomb. Now, when we look at back in the USSR, to a child's mind, it was associated with protests against the Vietnam War, but a more mature mind realizes that the Haganah was behind this, as she was Revolution Number 9 and what happened to me. There was also indications that the Macintosh um, signifier that was used to coalesce Mr. Macintosh with Macintosh applesauce is still alive and well here on the West Coast, where they're using name signifiers for my family, Gretchen, it was chosen as the name signifier at the Clubhouse movement, where McCartney gives queers status if they abuse me psychologically in his status crown interest after his involvement in the murder of JFK. Now, they refract the AIDS attack on Lennon's disappearance. Are they doing that with COVID? Sure, why not if it works? They can get away with it. In fact, in some ways, COVID is a great relief to the people who were affected by AIDS because, behold, this time that proves that there was no moral inferiority involved, and so on. I mean, the way that the deception, self deception, and of the media and the police bray on McCartney's behalf when he's clearly a criminally insane individual, manipulating all sides. Back in the USSR was also where Lee Harvey Oswald was. Oswald Mosley was from um, Liverpool, Syria. They were the British Union of fascists, where the Confederate Secret Service was. So all of this has been brewing since the war between the states. How to humiliate and how to recruit blacks to help them humiliate. A symbol. I was attacked blindside. There was no bravery. There was no duel involved. There was no, the absurd idea that Trumpy Toon Putinese who poisoned me in the mouth here in Seattle. You can see it's still the residue from it. I'm still fighting it. In the lead up to the COVID bomb would be somehow proving America hypocrites if we complain when they use in an aggressive offensive war that's completely unprovoked nuclear energy. I don't really wasn't alive at the time, although I was chosen by the Hagono to symbolize this. I don't recall anybody ever denying that Japan was the aggressor in World War II. They attacked us out of the clear blue sky. Also, so it was a defensive act about something we didn't really know very much about. World War II had gotten out of hand. It was clear, that's clear to almost anybody, you would think, that World War II got completely out of hand. This should be clear to just about anybody. So whatever, I'm not in a position to apologize. Nobody accepted my apology anyway, but that was the whole thing about starting over. Apologize, and it will be like starting over. I mean, there was a hidden transcript in Double Fantasy, and they obviously used the double. And in the high stakes extermination, Axis Revenge, snickering Lennon away into secrecy was no big deal. It was no big feat for Ian Fleming, Sean Connery, the Penis McCartney, and the Robin, whose Taliban continues to put forth names from back in the USSR like Putin and Oswald, and put in a good word with McCartney for us. Why don't you, Putin? And so forth. The KDP was used in Kathy DiPietro when they were vowing to prove that I was acting something out. What did I do? Did I put it in? Putin? So Shane has his mind all over this Taliban. But also, you find that Gretchen took me to see a film called Going Places, which is a French fascist film. And the notorious French fascist film industry were behind both that and Diva. Diva is a certifiable monumentaplex regarding the letters that were planted on me and the way the penis manipulated Axis cinema to his advantage in defense of Hitler Reagan. So we're dealing with the quarantine of an object lesson who was taken prisoner. Now, they say that I was just friends with these people and doing drugs at the time. Well, the truth is that what I remember very solidly was wandering around in a daze, wishing I had the courage to pour my mother's booze out so that it would be possible to reason with her. She was shrieking into my mind as though it was a microphone. I was being canceled psychologically from every which direction. Um, and of course, the Jewish people who were behind a lot of this crazy, evil, criminal behavior towards me would say, "Well, we want is peace." Well, that's all I wanted was peace. So naturally, I would reach out spiritually for an affinity with them, and then they would zap me with brutal pedophile sex, and then say, see, he was having fun with, like the business about not walking back the girl who was hired to get me alone outside. Nobody ever says Donald should have walked her back. He was the adult. They were both older than me, and they were prowlers. I was found in the snow, freezing like one of those pity dog films on YouTube, freezing, freezing, freezing after having told the principal that I was going to be killed. I gnawed my fingernails bloody. It was very difficult. COVID finally got me to stop biting my nails to some extent. But the falsifications, the cranial pressure caused by the laws in Pittsburgh, I mean, they're dirty laws, and they're filled all over the West Coast. They make it sound like I could have, because McCartney is patting them on the head. When AIDS happened and I was at the Fogg Medical Library, I dreamed of getting on a bus and going out to the West Coast and trying to warn people what I was seeing in the medical community, trying to tell them you know, don't behave the way that the Hitler Reagans are trying to get you to behave suicidally, in defense of your dignity. Don't, but what happened was that the people who did it, Harcourt comes and says the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. I mean, I'm sure Putin says the same thing at the Kremlin. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. They were depraved individuals who wanted an object lesson for the Hag Ono. They didn't even have to look at the script to know every single working detail, everything that was in the script, every person who was behind the script, every single lever and maneuver and innuendo and indication. Penis Gabriel knew before he even saw the script, and then they found them and said, aha, and got to work on the plan. So we know for a fact that Penis Gabriel is a cold-blooded liar involved in atrocity. I mean, it's simple enough to figure that out. The West Coast people I hear are leaving the West Coast. Maybe they realize the degree to which the West Coast is involved. They killed 3 Kennedys using the postal union. I mean, it's pretty imbecilic not to see it. But not seeing is the great accusation. We're Nazis because we don't see it. They're very cute, in their mindset and their mental depravity. So the truth is that I wanted to try to warn people, and I did go to the police. And of course, I was arrested for trying to warn people, and I was tortured and infamously poisoned. I did try to help the Hag Ono's call girl. I did avoid using innuendo about her, even though she was the instigator of all of these tawdry things that were happening. And in fact, she and her chaperone were supposed to be watching me when my mother was out of town, and after I was slaughteringly and brutally battered in an alleyway, they came across me in tears, watching me vomit from a window and drove off. So I mean, the hypocrisy is pretty clear. Pittsburgh are liars. That's the, so are Seattle. They're cold-blooded liars. None of them are telling the truth. All of them are lying. None of them are telling the truth, and every last single stinking one of them is lying. When I was taken to a car show, was kidnapped and tortured by brutal mechanics working with Charles Bronson, the French fascist film industry, and that horrible Penis Gabriel and the Ono hack, with contacts back in the KKGB, like Oswald Mosley's little Macintosh Gretchen. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's going on. That's what's real. And it's pitiful. We're losing our public schools. We're losing our planet. Nobody has any sense at all. All they want to do is put Pittsburgh's laws into cranial pressure so Paul McCartney can watch the little Curry ball. Pop goes to Curry ball. So he gets out of bed and comes, makes a flick for the snuff film operators. What a pig fucker he is. I don't like you, McCartney. I don't like you, Starkey. I think you're evil, stupid scum. but I'm not an armed and dangerous person the way you were. There's a difference.